As the southern border crisis continues to spiral out of control, with migrants flooding into America with seemingly no end in sight, well, you're beginning to see individual conservative states take matters into their own hands. Specifically, while individual states cannot have any authority over the administration of the national border, they do have the authority to administer their own state borders, at least to a certain degree. And as such, we are now seeing states with conservative leadership in both the state legislatures as well as in the governor's office pass legislation which prohibits illegal immigrants from entering or living in their individual states. It's basically the exact opposite of sanctuary policies, because instead of sanctuary policies which tell illegal immigrants that they're welcome here, instead, these laws, they either ban illegal immigrants from even entering the state, or if they're allowed to enter the state, it makes their lives significantly harder. And so, right now, we're seeing a vanguard of 6 different states which have laws in varying different stages of being passed. For instance, over in the state of Oklahoma, the state legislature there just passed a new bill called HB 4156. It passed with wide margins in both the state House as well as in the state Senate, and currently it's on the desk of Oklahoma's Republican governor awaiting a signature. And here's what this bill says in relevant part. Quote, "A person commits an impermissible occupation if the person is an alien and willfully and without permission enters and remains in the state of Oklahoma without having first obtained legal authorization to enter the United States." Now, in practice, this type of a bill would not require guards and checkpoints to be set up on the roads leading into the state. Instead, what it will effectively do is give authority to state-level law enforcement officers to arrest illegal aliens if they happen to be within the borders of Oklahoma. And so, just as an example, here in New York City, you have literal streets and parks that are filled with people who are obviously illegal aliens and who recently crossed the U.S. southern border. Cops can't do anything about it, though, because we have sanctuary policies in the books. But with the passage of a bill like HB 4156, cops in Oklahoma will be able to do something about it, because just by being in the state, these people will be guilty of a crime, the crime of impermissible occupation. Now, the first time that an illegal alien in Oklahoma would be caught under this new law, it would be considered a misdemeanor, and it would be punishable by up to 1 year in a county jail, a fine of up to $500, or both. However, if they don't immediately leave the state and are subsequently caught again, it would now be considered a felony, punishable by up to 2 years in prison, a fine of $1,000, or both. In either instance, though, those found guilty under this law must leave the state of Oklahoma within 72 hours of either being convicted or released from custody. And the reason that the Oklahoma State Legislature decided to pass this type of a bill is actually laid out quite succinctly in the text. Quote, "Throughout the state, law enforcement comes into daily and increasingly frequent contact with foreign nationals who enter the country illegally or who remain here illegally. Often, these persons are involved with organized crimes such as drug cartels, they have no regard for Oklahoma's laws or public safety, and they produce or are involved with fentanyl distribution, sex trafficking, and labor trafficking." Now, while this Oklahoma bill is still awaiting a signature from the governor there, over in the state of Iowa, they had a similar bill, which just earlier this month was signed into law. Specifically, on April 10th, Ms. Kim Reynolds, the governor of Iowa, she signed into law SF 2340. This new law will officially go into effect starting July 1st, and here's what it does. Quote, "The new Iowa law makes it a misdemeanor to be in the state or attempt to enter the state after being deported, denied admission to the United States, or if an individual has an outstanding deportation order. Being in the state illegally becomes a felony under certain circumstances, such as the accused having 2 or more misdemeanor convictions involving drugs or crimes against the person." And so essentially, if a person is determined by federal authorities to not have a legal right to remain in America, this law makes it such that that person will not be able to use Iowa as a safe haven. Upon signing the bill into law, Governor Reynolds, she released a statement saying this in part, quote, "Those who come into our country illegally have broken the law, yet Biden refuses to deport them. This bill gives Iowa law enforcement the power to do what he is unwilling to do, enforce immigration laws already on the books." Likewise, earlier this month, you had Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee sign a similar piece of legislation in his state as well. In Tennessee, this is known as Senate Bill 2576, and here's what it does. Quote, "This new Tennessee law requires law enforcement agencies to communicate with federal immigration authorities if they discover people in the country illegally, requiring, in most cases, cooperation in the process of identifying, catching, detaining, and deporting them." Just like in Iowa, this new law over in Tennessee will officially go into effect starting on July 1st. Now, right next to Tennessee is the state of Georgia, which is unfortunately where a college student named Laken Riley was killed by an illegal immigrant from Venezuela. And as a response to that tragedy, the Georgia state legislature passed a bill just earlier this month called House Bill 1105, which would, quote, require jailers to check the immigration status of inmates. And if their immigration status is found to be invalid, well, state authorities will now have to cooperate with ICE to get it squared away. Now, in Georgia, just like in Oklahoma, this bill did pass the state legislature, and it's now sitting on the governor's desk awaiting signature to actually go into effect. Meanwhile, to the southwest, the state of Texas was actually the pioneer of this state-level immigration approach. They passed something known as Senate Bill 4 several months ago, which made it a state-level crime to cross the Texas-Mexico border outside of the legal ports of entry. Essentially, seeing the federal government essentially dropping the ball on the border, the Texas state government was attempting to completely take authority over dealing with border crossers. Now, that law was supposed to go into effect this last March, but the Biden administration has been in the process of suing Texas over this law since January. And at the moment, the courts have essentially blocked the implementation of this law pending a conclusion to the actual case. And then lastly, going a bit eastward, you get to the state of Florida, which has enacted a number of different measures which are every bit as aggressive as what Texas was trying to do. And so besides beefing up law enforcement to help the U.S. Coast Guard spot migrants who are using boats to attempt to enter America, well, Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a number of different bills into law that make life more difficult for illegal immigrants within the borders of Florida. One of the bills was Senate Bill 1718, signed into law last year, and that new law, quote, mandates that private businesses with 25 or more employees use E-Verify, penalizes employers for hiring illegal aliens, and enhances penalties for human smuggling. Additionally, the bill prohibits issuing a driver's license to anyone who cannot prove they are lawfully in the United States, and it invalidates ID cards issued to illegal aliens in other states. Furthermore, aside just from state-level provisions, this new Florida law, it makes it such that, quote, local governments are barred from issuing IDs to illegal aliens, and hospitals must collect and submit data on the cost of providing health care to illegal aliens. Although it's worth mentioning that just like in Texas, left-wing groups quickly filed a lawsuit against the state in order to block portions of this law from going into effect. However, these legal actions did not deter the Florida state legislature, which only doubled down. In fact, just earlier this year, Governor Ron DeSantis signed 3 different pieces of legislation into law, including HB 1451, which prohibits counties from funding groups that issue IDs for illegal aliens, as well as prohibiting Florida counties from accepting IDs of those who are known to be in the country illegally. Then you had SB 1036, which enhanced the penalties for illegal aliens who are deported and then subsequently returned to Florida to commit a crime. And then you have HB 1589, which increased the penalty for driving without a valid driver's license. Taken together, these new laws are trying to have the exact opposite effect of sanctuary policies. They're trying to make it such that being an illegal alien in the state of Florida is just so difficult, and as such, they're likely to just go elsewhere. And so that's the current state of these different state-level laws that are pushing back against the federal government's pro-migrant policies. If you'd like to go through and read the text of these specific laws that are being passed in these 6 different states, I'll throw the links to all of them. You'll be able to find them down in the description box below if you're the type of person that likes to dig into the weeds. And all I ask in return is that as you're making your way down there to those links, take a super quick detour to smash those like and subscribe buttons so that this information can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. All right, just to pause here for a super quick moment. If you happen to be a gun owner right here in the US, I've got some great news for you. Our sponsor today, Vanish Holsters, is giving away an $80,000 custom Rocky Ridge Silverado for free to one lucky American who buys one of their holsters between now and June 3rd. Even better, besides the chance to win the truck, they're also knocking off $50 off of the retail price for anyone who buys a holster using my special link, which for your reference is www.vnsh.com/Roman. And these holsters are phenomenal. They're super comfortable. The way they're designed sort of conforms to your body. You don't need to wear a separate belt with them. They're one size fits all, and they can accommodate like 99% of all semi-automatic handguns. And all Vanish holsters have 2 extra slots for 2 fully loaded magazines. And best of all, they're a company that actually stands behind their product. And so if you're not fully satisfied, they offer a no questions asked money back guarantee. And so just head on over to vanish.com/Roman to access the deal. It's a great holster. It's $50 off. There's a money back guarantee. And if you purchase before June 3rd, you'll automatically be entered to win an $80,000 custom Rocky Ridge Silverado. Now, like all good things in life, this deal will not last long. And I'll also mention that this deal is not available on their general website. You can only find this deal on my special landing page with them. So just head on over to vnsh.com/Roman. I'll also throw the link down into the description box below. And then lastly, if you enjoyed today's content and you're just thinking to yourself, man, I love this content, I just wish Roman would publish more episodes every single week. Well, you're in luck, because I do. Over on Epoch TV, our awesome no censorship video platform, I publish anywhere between 1 to 3 exclusive episodes of Facts Matter every single week, usually on topics that are unfortunately too spicy for here on YouTube. And so if you'd like access to those exclusive episodes, including a huge backlog from the last 3 years, well, now's a great opportunity because the Epoch Times is running an awesome promotional sale. Just 25 cents a week for the whole year, which if you do the math, works itself out to be approximately $1 a month. And so if you'd like to get access to those extra episodes, including the huge backlog from the last 3 years, well, take advantage of the sale. You'll be able to find the sale link right there at the top of the description box below. You just click on that link and it'll take you to the sale page where you can try the Epoch Times for, again, just 25 cents a week for the whole year. It's a no-brainer. Again, the link is right there at the top of the description box below. Hope you check it out. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed. Most importantly, stay free.